Hi boys and girls, it is social studies time. Today we are learning about house builders, bricklayers, masons, and carpenters. And so we're learning about how they did it in colonial times without big power tools and electricity and things like that. And also in your packets today, there's just a letter. It says, Dear Family Member, and it's just talking about the things that we're going to be learning about and some extra resources that you guys can look at just to find out more about what we're learning. But let's go ahead and read our lesson. So everybody get nice and comfy. It'll take a few minutes, but here we go. In colonial American towns, most people built their own homes with the help of their neighbors. However, townspeople who were wealthy could hire tradespeople who had particular expertise in building. There were three types of tradespeople who helped build houses in colonial times and who still build houses today: the bricklayer, the mason, and the carpenter. The bricklayer builds walls and houses using bricks. Bricks are made from clay, extremely fine red soil that comes from the earth. A long time ago, people discovered that if you mixed clay with a little water and shaped it into a block and then baked it in the hot sun, it would dry out and harden into a solid brick. In this picture, you can see a bricklayer laying bricks the way it was done 300 years ago. He is using a special tool called a trowel to spread the mortar. Mortar is a really gooey and sticky material made of sand, water, and a type of crushed rock called lime. Once the bricklayer has spread the mortar evenly with his trowel, he will add another brick to the wall. If the bricklayer is good at his trade, his wall will be straight and strong and will last for many years. Because you wouldn't want a crooked wall or a wall that was falling down. Let's turn the page. Here we go. A stonemason, or a mason for short, builds walls and houses with stones. Like the bricklayer, the mason can use mortar to stick the stones together. Can you see the mortar and the spaces between the stones on the chimney? While bricks are mostly the same size and shape, stones come in all shapes and sizes. The mason has to be careful to make sure that each piece fits together closely with the pieces next to it. And can you see the stones? Can you see how the stones in this wall have been carefully fitted together like pieces in a puzzle? To be able to fit the stones together so well, the mason had to chip away at them with a hammer and a sharp chisel, patiently reshaping the stones so that each one would fit perfectly into its space alongside the others. In fact, these stones were fitted together so well that the mason did not need to use mortar to keep them in place. That's pretty impressive to have a lot of rocks that fit together. In an old colonial town, many masons were asked to build the foundations of houses. The foundation is the bottom or base of a house, and the lowest part on which the rest of the house stands. The stones in the foundation must fit together snugly so that they never move or crack. The stones on each of the corners of the house, called cornerstones, were especially important. Strong cornerstones make a strong foundation, which makes a sturdy house that won't fall down. And one of the reasons that they used stones was a resource that they had. They could go out anywhere and if they could find stones, then they could use them to build. And it wasn't something that had to be manufactured in a factory or that you'd have to go to the store and get. It was something that they're just natural, so that they could just go out and get stones. And finally, can you tell what other material is used to build houses? That's right, wood. And who works with wood? Yes, a carpenter. Most carpenters begin with a diagram or a drawing of what they plan to build. The diagram then tells the carpenter how long, how wide, and how thick each wooden board needs to be, and shows how the pieces need to be fitted together. Sometimes, to save money and time, instead of using smooth wooden boards, carpenters would use rough logs to build houses. And back then, they didn't have machines like we do to make wood smooth, like our houses use today. And the carpenter uses a lot of special tools. This picture shows a carpenter measuring a board with a special kind of ruler called a square. That's good for measuring angles and straight edges. The carpenter makes a mark on the board with a pencil to show where to cut. And carpenters have to be careful to get their measurements exactly right. Otherwise, if they cut the wrong size on the piece of wood or cut it at a wrong angle, the pieces will not fit together correctly and the house would not stand up properly. Or there would be gaps in between the wood, and then you would have leaks and you would have weak spots, and that doesn't work for a house. They all need to fit together. Most good carpenters measure their boards twice before cutting, just to make sure they have marked the exact right place. That's why carpenters have a saying, measure twice, cut once. It's basically to remind themselves to double check their measurements before cutting, because once they cut a board, they can't uncut it. Once the carpenter has cut the boards to the sizes he needs with his saw, he fastens them together with his hammer and nails. Then he uses a tool called a level to check and make sure that everything is straight and even. When a carpenter builds a house, he builds from the ground up. That means he doesn't build the roof first and work down. He builds the foundation first and then he builds up. He begins by building the frame of the house. The frame gives the house its shape and holds everything together. The frame holds up the walls, the roof, the doors, and the windows. If the carpenter does his job well, the end result will be a beautiful house that keeps rain and wind out for years and years. We know that many early American house builders were true experts at their trades because many of their buildings are still standing today, as straight and tall as ever. Although sometimes we call them construction workers, bricklayers, masons, and carpenters still work together to build today's homes. Like colonial homes, modern homes can have parts that are built of brick, stone, and wood. But unlike colonial tradespeople, the tradespeople of today use electric power tools to make their work much easier to accomplish. Okay, boys and girls, that is the end. I hope you had a good time learning about the bricklayers, the masons, and the carpenters. And read your worksheet to get extra information. And have a great day. And watch Miss Barrett's Read Aloud next.